can literally flip their lives. And that's why there's so much that it goes into decision making in real estate
Wow.
for the best outcome. So
Very well put, Tracy. Thank you. All right. So we've talked about having a very important real estate agent take care of you to build trust when you're selling a house or even buying a house, because those are also missed opportunities. There's that one dream home, et cetera. So what are the most important qualities someone should look for in a real estate agent when they are either selling or buying?
okay, so I think a number of things. Number one, it would be that agent's market knowledge in terms of deep dives into numbers.
Okay.
Why did Jane's house 4 doors down the street only traded 1,100 a foot, but Bill's house over there went for 2,300 a foot? Why? What? The construction was only 800 a foot. Where was the differential of the 500 a square foot? Someone has to sit down and pick through the weeds of analysis and understand the nuances that drive value and drive ultimate sales prices. That market knowledge, that's absolutely, and I'm, right now I'm
the most
coaching my
important.
daughters in Aspen, and one of the things we're going over all the time is numbers. Why, is it most real estate markets, I always say to people, this is not Kansas City.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have flat miles of subdivisions with cookie cutter homes, with like that, whatever that series was where, Stepford Wives or Housewives or whatever, where everyone's at the same house. This is the landscape, especially in the Bay Area, it's challenging. We've got weather differentials. You can go 5 miles down the street and it's a fog belt all day.
Or 5 minutes.
Yeah, or 5 minutes. The house faces north versus south. What is southern exposure worth versus northern exposure?
Especially to the Asian community.
Yes.
With doors.
Yeah, and what are power lines worth? I mean, one of the biggest problems is we're in view-driven submarkets throughout the Bay Area, and when you've got power lines crossing that view, where is the discount in that? And how do you tell the seller, I'm sorry, you're just simply worth $500,000 less because it will cost you that to get those power lines out of your view. So there are many things in a quantitative analysis that are unknowns, that are subjective. Noise, what's somebody's tolerance for ambient road noise off of freeways, okay? How do you reduce the valuation? And then how do you tell the seller that so that you don't lose the listing by being honest and offending them? See, this is where the whole crux of why you said, what's the hardest part about the job? It's honesty. Honesty is the hardest part of the job.
So
Candidly.
it sounds like two parts here. One is analytics and really understanding your niche, neighborhoods, counties, region, et cetera. And the second part would be honesty, really being not only honest with yourself, but also with the client enough to do something that is maybe not beneficial to your end of pay at the end of the transaction, but more beneficial to the client. And so honesty goes a long way. So if you guys are interested in becoming real estate agents, make sure you know your market and make sure that you're honest with your client.
The other thing I would say, Simon, on the buy side, there are many homes I've talked to people out of buying knowing that I could well lose that buyer. They might go to Orinda and say, I can get 30% more home over here. Why would I buy in Marin County? They're both suburbs of the Bay Area and they both have nice weather. We both have pools, There are times where I've said to somebody, you can't buy that house. I wouldn't sell it to my family members. I think you're making a mistake. I'll put that in writing if they do buy the home. Talking people out of homes is as important as it is being supportive of them for a home they love. They don't know enough to know that they might be making a decision where when they go to sell in 10 years, the market went up by 27 or 30% and their house only went up by 10%.
Wow.
I dealt with a seller in Ross, California, who bought a home and literally didn't touch it for 14 years. And I went in there and he's pounding his fist. This should have appreciated. Look at the way the market.
Oh my God.
How can my house? I said, because you didn't touch it. The finishes were 20 years old when I walked in here and sold it to you. Now they're another 10 years old. And straight organic depreciation due to age of finishes will offset appreciation and the house flatlines. Very few people understand that. But if you buy a home that already is 20 or 30 years old and you don't touch it for the duration of your ownership, you're going to be right back to where you started when you bought that house. You have to keep investing in these homes. Like if you bought a car and you had ripped upholstery, you wouldn't leave the ripped upholstery there for 10 years. You'd patch it to sell the car, right? So
Of course.
underselling homes.
Yeah, you're going to get a devalued
Yeah.
price off.
And people don't, the depreciation absolutely offsets organic appreciation, and you end up where you started. And then, of course, the real estate agent gets blamed for that.
Of course. Who else would it be?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting you mentioned is the buyer, talking a buyer out of buying a property. I've never probably met a real estate agent that would admit to that, because I've met one agent that said this house may not be safe for your kids because it was in the hill. It was also in Ross. It was on Wellington Avenue. You know, that's a very
Yes.
hill-sided area. It was around our budget when we were looking, and but it felt like someone could fall off a cliff, so to speak. And the agent said, well, you may not want to consider this property at that time. This is before we met you. And I was like, well, I want it. And I was like, why is this agent doing this to me? But that was actually probably a decent agent, because she saw what my virgin eyes could not realize at that moment in time. And like everything in life with me, when I don't get something, something always better comes along. And hopefully the property I got with you, Tracy, is the better that came along. So only time will tell.
Buying a flat lot in the flats, there is no better investment, at least in Marin County. I believe this applies to a lot of submarkets. Level lot in the flats that's walkable with indoor-outdoor living, and the sequencing, I call it the magical 1, 2, 3, 4 sequencing. House with a big open great room to flat land to pool, if you can get one in, to some kind of outlook or view. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4 sequencing that creates the most equity in any home. And that applies to most markets, I believe, around the country, but I can certainly speak to the Bay Area.
If I put a pool in my architectural plans, I think my neighbors might have a heart attack. I'm just saying. Hopefully they don't watch this. All right. Okay. What are the biggest trends you're seeing in the real estate market right now? Now, you did mention grays are out. Very interesting. Gray floors have gone. I do like our tile floor here, though, however.
Yeah, no, because it's a soft gray
yeah.
and it's timeless, and you've got organic wood and enough white going on. If it was gray walls, the biggest mistake people make is painting all their walls gray because gray was in 10 years ago. I'm like, gray doesn't belong on walls. It belongs on linen sofas from Restoration Hardware or whatever, and some gray tonality in the floors, but you cannot paint walls gray. People have a seminal response to gray walls. They immediately feel depressed when they walk into a space if all the walls are gray.
I have to repaint my condo, which I haven't been able to sell for a while now.
Sorry, Simon. I'll give you the right white color. You'll be fine.
I might have to learn painting next. Yeah. Okay, so the biggest trends are no grays. Do not paint your walls gray. And what else? What else would we add to that trend in the real estate market? I know the interest rates are quite high, so maybe we're seeing less offers on properties, or is that even a thing right now?
Yeah, well, so and to finish on the design, I would tell you it's funny. There's a beautiful home on this woman's Instagram. She's a designer. I think it's an AI house. It is perfection. I'm actually going to show it to you.
When
after
you
this
say
podcast.
AI house, what do you mean by that?
I mean, I think it might have been designed by a robot. We'll
Really?
see. I mean,
is that the future for design, you think?
I mean, it could be. This house is perfection, and everyone's kind of bantering around, where is this? Does this really exist? I think it's an interesting thing. Okay. This house is perfection. So up until the last, year, it's been tall, pretty neutralized white walls because we want to showcase big modern art and things like that. Open floor plans are still absolutely a must. If you have a perfect rectangle with high ceilings where we've got a big open kitchen with a huge, the center island is the nucleus of our home now. People don't realize how important the central island is in a kitchen. And the way I design mine now is we can get 8 chairs around it with open-ended seating on each end. Really, that becomes a dining room table. But it should be that open floor plan concept, then a big open dining area, and then a big LRU sectional to watch TV and hang out. If you have that, very little else is necessary in a home. Honestly.
I'm sending you my designs for Ross. You're going to have to comment on them.
I can't wait to see them.
Well, they're nice, I thought.
I can't wait to see them.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about experience. We talked a little bit about real estate agents, what's in, what buyers and sellers should expect from their real estate agent. Honesty seems to be a very big one. Let's talk about experience. What are some of the most memorable deals you worked on? You don't have to mention mine just because you're here, but what are some of the cool ones? And I'm sure you have quite a few because you've sold homes, I would say upwards of 10 million, some properties that you probably walk in and you go, I wish I've lived here, or this is a nice house. Tell me about some of those.
I've sold the most expensive home in the history of Marin, which is 28 million
28
at
million.
32 Shady Lane.
32 Shady Lane. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
a nice property. Did that
Beautiful.
person end up gutting that house and rebuilding it? Was that the same house?
No, it's an interesting home. It's been around since the turn of the century, and it's a spectacular 1.7 flat acres with
Wow.
10,000 square feet of livable detached guest house. The grounds are magnificent. One of the things people, and I just posted something on my social this week about the importance of landscaping. What happens is people get going, they fix up their homes, and they go, we're burned out. We're not going to put great furniture and art in here, and those shrubs are fine. Landscaping needs to track the capital investment in the structure.
Okay.
It needs to be organized. It needs to be thoughtfully placed. Landscape architects are a brilliant component of the overall monetization of a house.
Wow.
So think about your grounds. Think about creating flat play spaces if you're in a kid-driven neighborhood or you're in a school district-driven area where young families are going to be buying. There's got to be some lawn to market. And we can get around all the water conservation now with great, there's wonderful artificial turf now that looks so real. You have to bend down and feel it.
Yeah.
But having organized landscaping, I could take a roof deck in Soho, New York, and make it stunning, and it's a roof deck, and make you want to